Hey, it's Adewale here this morning. Just wanted to do a quick video on how to use the course module in Private Content Wizard. Now, the goal of the course module is to teach something in depth. And you can think of it like this. You have your SEO articles that would bring people into your website, but not necessarily give too much depth. It will talk about a lot of topics or subtopics within a topic, teach a little bit, but not say too much. And you can then link them to a course type article or tutorial type article that focus in depth on one area of a topic. So, for example, you could say your SEO article focuses on anxiety management as a whole. And then you could look into focusing on managing fear or fear in a course. And why would you want to do that? You're thinking of your website like it's a funnel, bringing people in, introducing a little bit of content that's not too deep, not too shallow, but just good enough for people to know, okay, this is a good site. And then going deeper into developing a relationship with the reader. So really what you're doing is using your site as a whole as a conversion tool. You're gradually converting the person into trusting you as a writer. So that's the idea behind why I would use the course. So I'm just going to quickly show you how I would go about writing an article with this course. So let's say I want to write an article here. So the title is How to Handle Work Deadlines Without Stress. Now, this is the way the course works. The course requires you to choose something that the AI will use as the analogy for the course. And the idea here is you want to choose something dramatic, something completely weird, something that will seem completely unrelated. And the goal is we are trying to use principles of persuasion. The persuasion process we're trying to do this is we're trying to engage with enjoyment. We're trying to engage with story. We're trying to engage with surprise. We're trying to engage by simplifying things with analogies, stories, and then we teach a practical strategy around the analogy. So, how to handle work deadlines without stress? What kind of analogy can I choose? I could choose an analogy. Let's think of a weird analogy. Hot towels. So the idea now is that the AI will be trying to figure out how to use this idea of hot towels as an analogy around how to handle work deadlines without stress in a way that teaches something. And it's surprising, AIs are very good at doing this. It's something I discovered. So I'm going to write the process and then I'll show you the outcome of the article and perhaps also provide a link as well so that people can see what the article looks like. It's decided to choose a subtitle, Soaking Up Deadlines Without Stress, which towers can do, isn't it? Okay. So the article now, the AI will write an introduction, then it will then write a short micro story. I call it a micro story because it's not too long, but still a story that's enough to really give the person who's reading your article the context. Yeah. So the kind of introduction is almost like a cliffhanger style introduction. Quite often it will give you something that's very good. Sometimes you may need to change it. If you need to change it, I would suggest going to the intros and using the cliffhanger with the same headline to come up with a substitute intro. So that's that's the intro. Come up with the story. Then we'll come up with 3 lessons for that story around this subject of how to handle deadlines. If you notice, I actually didn't spell this correctly. I said how to handle deadlines. The AI would know what you are talking about with even spelling mistakes. So don't worry too much about that. So It created 3 lessons and then uses those 3 lessons to come up with a big idea for the rest of the article, right? So come up with a big idea, then it uses that hot towel analogy, creates an analogy. So I would suggest you go to the analogy, see how it fits. You may need to delete some things, like for example, I don't like it. It always, for some reason, wants to just say, hey, let's talk about. Sometimes I like to just change that to talking about. You notice that I'm editing as the AI is producing the content. You can do that whilst it's producing the content. So now what it's doing now is it's now creating the practical strategy based on this story, this context, these lessons, and this analogy. So really, this is what we all do. Like when we're trying to create, imagine you're trying to create a webinar, for example. This gives you a structure that you can use for the webinar, where you have the story that you can use, and you have the lessons that you're trying to teach the person, and then you go into the strategies. And so how the strategies are placed then is, you got the practical strategy, just delete because that's a duplicate. You got the practical strategy. So you usually have 5 practical strategies where it breaks each of the 5 strategies down into 5 explanations, almost like 5 steps or 5 points. So you got the practical strategy. Does this, it gives you up to 5 strategies, and within each of those 5 strategies, you've got 5 steps each. You can use all the 5, or you may just choose to use the 3 if you don't want to overwhelm, or you don't think is all that necessary. I tend to often use the 5. Sometimes I will even use the 5 and I will generate steps within steps and go more in depth depending on the article and depending on if I felt, okay, this was necessary. When the client reads this, they will be wanting more, right? Or you may decide, okay, instead of giving them more, when you give them up to this point, they're thinking they really want more. You can link them to another article, or you can link them to a product. Once they get to this, or just link them to sign up for a freebie, a lead magnet. Yeah. So this is how we will use the analogy. So here's showing you the final output of what the course module brings out. Now, what I've just done is read through, deleted some things, adjusted some things, and I thought just to finish it off with a bit of a bang, I changed the last step 5 that it gave, just to finish off with a bang, but also generated this using AI. So this is what we have for the article, soaking up deadlines without stress. So that's the introduction, which creates a bit of a cliffhanger to make the person carry on reading, the story, the lessons, the big idea, then the analogy, the hot towel analogy that was created by the AI. Now, one of the good things about this is once you have that analogy, or you have all of this out, you can now be creative with what the AI gave you. And for me, the way I just chose to be creative was to try and see if I can get a little bit of a fun into that. So I got that image. I said, no, not like that. So there you got it. This is how you use the course module in Private Content Wizard to create a more in-depth, trust-building content. Okay? Wishing you a great day.